Welcome. We went over maximum power transfer theorem, and we wanted to talk a little bit more about the internal resistance that you can see with that MPTT, which is very closely related to the MPPT, maximum power point tracking. Before we jump into this, I just want to thank Digilent for their help with this entire DC circuit series, and also with us putting together this practical experiment showing you in real life the way you can measure and kind of the way internal resistance can affect your batteries. So with that, we have 3 batteries here. I have 2 AA's, or the LR6s I believe they're called, and 1 AAA. One of the AA's is a little bit older, and one of the AA's is brand new, and then I've got the AAA. And I just wanted to show what happens when you put a load on them. So for that, I have this 15 ohm 5 watt resistor. This whole thing is set up so that I basically am measuring the voltage across the battery, and then I will put the resistor in parallel with the battery so that we see the load, and then we will be using the Discovery 3 from Digilent as the voltmeter. And so I have the software going up here. We've gone over that in the past. It's very simple to set up, so I'm not going to go into detail with that. So right now, if we look at this, measuring across this older, pretty depleted battery, it is measuring 1.39 volts. Ideally, a AA is 1.5 volts. We'll see in a moment that that's not actually the case, much like with any other batteries, your 12-volt batteries, your lithium-ion 3.7. Those are very nominal. Usually the voltage goes above and then goes below. So the nominal 1.5 volt for this alkaline AA battery is currently, because it's more depleted, 1.39 volts. So let's take this resistor and put it in parallel with the battery so it starts to basically discharge through the resistor. As we do that, we see an immediate drop to 1.33, 1.34. It's kind of changing, but it's roughly in that area, 1.335 volts. So if we look at it, it's going from 1.385 down to basically 1.335, which, if I'm doing my math in my head right, that's about a 50 millivolt drop. Okay, so I'm going to draw out the equivalent circuit and then put some of the voltages that we have here. We'll have the video team make it a lot prettier because you've probably seen my handwriting and it's terrible. But basically, we have our voltage source and then our internal resistor, which is basically just the imperfection of the battery and the fact that there is internal resistance in things. And then our load. So that load is 15 ohms, and we do not know what our internal resistance is. We know that when we start out, we're just going to say 1.38, and then we're going to also say that when we put the load on, it drops to 1.33. So we have that 50 millivolts. And this is more so you can have a good intuitive feeling of what's going on. Obviously, the measurements are kind of wiggling all over the place. And for what we're doing right now, that's totally fine. We don't need crazy precision. We just need kind of a rough idea of what we're expecting. So now that we have this 1.38 volts without the load and the 1.33 volts with the load, we can assume that we have a 50 millivolt drop over our internal resistance, because as soon as the current goes through, we are dropping 50 millivolts. So we can do plus minus 50 millivolts. So we basically have a 1.38 volt input. We have a 50 millivolt drop over that internal resistance, giving us 1.33 volts over our 15 ohm actual load. Using some simple Ohm's law here, making sure that I can do my math correctly, we have about 88.6 milliamps going through our load when it is connected in parallel. Now using Ohm's law, but through the internal resistance, we know the voltage across it. We can now find out what the resistance is by saying R equals V over I, which is going to be basically 0.05 because it's 50 millivolts over 0.0886 because it's 88.6 milliamps. We get 0.56 ohms. So now we know roughly, and of course there's going to be some wiggle room in here, and that internal resistance might change depending on the load, but we know that if we put this in anything, you're going to have to account for a half ohm resistance in there as well. So not only what the load has, but you've got that half ohm in there. Okay, so hopefully that was kind of interesting, because that was all I really wanted to do, was show that this is how you have to figure out what that internal series resistances, but let's pop it out and see if there's any variations between the other two batteries and see if when we put a load on them, if there's a difference in the way the voltage dips. So let me pop this old battery out, and I'm just using this to make it a little bit easier, a little bit cleaner. It's not that clean, but let's put in the new battery and go back to waveforms. And immediately we see that the measurement over this brand new battery is 1.71 volts. So it's 0.3 volts higher, so a third of a volt higher than the old battery, and 0.2 volts higher than the optimal or the nominal voltage of a AA or LR6. So what happens to this voltage as we put a load on it? So this is that same 15 ohm load. It drops to 1.63, 1.64. So again, take it off. It's about 1.7, 1.71. Now it just dropped to 1.64. So it's about a 60 millivolt drop, roughly. And that may think, okay, why is it that on the new battery, it has a 60 millivolt drop, whereas with the old battery is a 50 millivolt drop? But you have to remember there's more current going through this because it's at a higher voltage. More current means there's going to be more of a drop on that internal resistance. So you need to keep that in consideration as you're like, wait a second, that's not what I was expecting. Well, that's because this has a higher voltage, so it's outputting more current, which means more voltage drop over that first internal resistance. So this actually makes a lot of sense. Probably is why when you have a nominal 1.5 volt battery, basically with the 1.7, they assume that it's going to be 1.5 because of the load dropping that voltage. And again, there's some hand waving in here. It's funny how as engineers, we like to be extremely precise, but in reality, things are a bit rough, and that is totally fine. You just design for it and you expect it. And there are times that you do need to be extremely precise, and then times where you can like, oh yeah, 1.4, 1.7, 1.2. I mean, rechargeable batteries are 1.2. If you look at any of your nickel metal hydride, AA batteries, AAA batteries, either one, they're actually 1.2 nominal instead of 1.5. And most electronics don't have any problem with it because they design for that. Okay, I'm getting off on a tangent. Let's just do this AAA battery really quick. Fortunately, it still fits in here, though it's a little bit loose. So this AAA battery still is giving us about 1.7. It's 1.694. So we could round down, round up. We'll just say 1.69 at the moment. Then we put the load on, and it drops to 1.59, 1.6. Now, this one's more interesting because with the AA battery, it was 1.71, 1.7-ish, and it comes out to a 60 millivolt drop. Whereas this one, it goes from even if we say 1.68, even though that's closer to 1.69, and then it drops down. Let's see if I can hold this on there properly. And it drops down to 1.61. So a 70 millivolt, that's a fairly generous 70 to 80 millivolt drop. And yet they have the same nominal voltage. So what's going on here? Even though this is the same voltage with the AAA versus the AA, it has a higher internal resistance because it's just smaller and there isn't as much in there. So when the chemical reactions that are going on to provide that voltage, there's not as much surface area. So when there's a load, it can't create the voltage potential as quickly as a AA battery. Did that make sense? Basically, your AAA, even though it can produce the same voltage, it doesn't have the same capacity, the same power density to produce current. And because of that, if it gets a load, it drops faster than the AA. So when you have a AAA versus AA, it's not just long-term capacity, it's that short-term, how much power can it produce at that same time, because the AAA has a higher internal resistance than your AA. Okay, that's all I wanted to talk about today. So with internal resistance, and you're doing that maximum power transfer theorem, and you're thinking about, okay, how do I maximize the power from one thing to another? You do need to very much think about your internal resistance. Now in these, a half ohm, that's not a huge amount. I've heard other batteries have significantly higher internal resistances. I haven't checked that out myself, but that is something when you're designing something that needs maybe perhaps a large surge of power for, I don't know, a transmission of a signal every once in a while. You need to not only think about overall energy density, but also that power density to send stuff out, that matching between the internal resistance and your load resistance. Okay, that's all I had. I hope you found this very interesting and useful. If you have any questions, please leave it down below in the comments. If you did enjoy this video, please give it a like, subscribe to our channel, and we will catch you in the next one. Take care.
Hey, I hope this tutorial was helpful. Did you know that CircuitBread.com also has more useful engineering content? In addition to the tutorials, textbooks, tools, and other things, we have dozens of EE FAQs that explain quick, standalone concepts that are helpful for electrical engineers. Go check them out.